I've been sitting on these portraits for over a year now, and have simply never gotten around to sharing them for one reason or another, but they're actually some of my favourite portraits that I've taken to date. Let's talk about the Pentax 67 for portrait work. I've previously shared some portraits that I've taken with the Mamiya RZ67, which is a pretty infamous and legendary camera for portrait work, and is one that I've loved using, but I purchased a Pentax 67 last year to be able to have a slightly more portable and usable medium format camera whilst retaining the best quality image that I could, and I wanted to test out what this Pentax would be like for portrait work. I only have the one lens for my Pentax 67, which is the 75mm f4.5. There is a much more expensive f2.8 version, which I'm sure would be ideal for portraits that I would love to try out at some point, but right now it's just too far out of my price range, and if I'm honest, the depth of field at f2.8 would probably be so shallow that I'd often step down to around f4 anyways, and I'd probably end up missing focus with it being that shallow and my eyesight as it is. This shoot was actually part of a super productive day with Carmela as my model once again. It was the same time that I shot some ultra wide portraits, which is a video that is already out on my channel, which you can check out. I'll leave a link and a card up the top as ever. And I also shot some portraits on 35mm motion picture film, which should be a video coming out in the next few weeks on my channel, fingers crossed. All of these portraits were shot with a simple backdrop set up in her living room and one strobe light above and to the left of Carmela, pretty much in front of the window, attempting to emulate that natural light that we had coming in to the room that was existing anyway. I shot 2 rolls of Portra 400. Here's all the images that I shot that came out, and I'll talk about them in just a little bit. A few of these images I'm actually incredibly happy with. The simple and motivated lighting shaped Carmela's face incredibly well. I moved it around a few times depending on the position that Carmela was in, but largely the light stayed at a similar angle and a similar distance for all of these photos. Of course, all of the photos are slightly edited and retouched just for transparency purposes, so this isn't exactly what I got out of the camera, but I did do very little editing to these. They weren't this far off naturally when I got the scans back from the lab. Using the Pentax 67 was actually far more enjoyable than I expected it to be. I've struggled a little in the past with focusing with the Pentax, but the majority of these photos did come out incredibly sharp and I nailed focus exactly where I wanted it. The 75mm lens has a really nice rendering to it. I'm actually a fan of the slightly wider field of view for portraits, the sort of 35mm on traditional 35mm cameras compared to what you'd expect maybe an 85mm equivalent lens, and the f4 was enough to still have a fairly shallow depth of field, allowing me to throw out the back of Carmela's ears and the back of her head nicely out of focus, which is exactly what I'm looking for my portraits when I'm focused on somebody's eyes. Being handheld with a more traditional shape and size camera compared to the Mamiya RZ67 was actually very enjoyable. It was easy to move around into different positions, and having the eye level perspective as opposed to a waist level perspective felt just a little bit more natural and easy to shoot with. Using the flash was super simple, just connected a cable from the flash into the camera and I had zero issues with the flash not firing during the shoot. The experience as a whole was a super positive one. I'm hoping to soon use my RZ67 and my Pentax 67 on the same portrait shoot, perhaps shooting a roll on each and comparing what it's like, because I'm sure there are some differences, but at the end of the day the results tend to be pretty similar. If you'd like me to do a video comparing the two on the same shoot, let me know in the comments down below. But that's all for this one today, a super quick and easy one. I hope you liked the images. If you did, maybe consider leaving a like down below, subscribing if you want to see some more of my content, and remember, stay safe everyone, stay happy, and I'll see you in the next one.